everybody, it's John Myatt from Imagine Communications. Really glad to be with you today. Today we're talking about production multiviewers. Now, we've introduced a multiviewer personality in our Selenium network processor going on about 2.5, 3 years ago, and it's achieved a great deal of successful use all over the industry. We're really excited at the big projects we've done with it all over the world. And so I want to cover a few of the salient points about multiviewing today, because everybody knows about multiviewers, right? We all see them there hanging on the wall, lots of pips. And the general industry feel over the years is, if I see video in a pip, it must be good. But it turns out there's a lot of use cases and a lot of different things that people expect in the multiviewer, depending on who they are and what they're doing with it. Now, there's the live production world. In live production, it's all about latency. I'm sitting here cutting the show, I'm watching the video. I need a tight, short time loop so that I can click in exactly the right frame and do what I want. And SNP features a 1-frame latency just so you can do that. There's also a whole lot of stuff to say about color, and is the color really true? And that's something we'll talk about later. In Playout Centers, it's a little more about getting more pips on the screen and having a lot of on-screen alarms, captions, subtitles, audio meters, V-chip warnings, all this kind of stuff where you really are looking for the multiviewer to be the second pair of eyes for the person operating the channel. We expect a lot out of people who are operating channels in Playout Centers. They're launching sometimes 10 channels, 12 channels on the same shift for the same person. So they can't just sort of watch the captions on every one individually. They need an alarm about this and an alarm about that that pops up bright red and says something's wrong. SNP has those features too, because we find it increasingly in Playout Centers. Then there's the third rail, which is network integration centers. In network integration centers, typically there's just a lot of pips on the wall, especially with SNP, where every time we generate a display, we generate it in UHD. And more, we're seeing people take that UHD canvas and just fill it with pips. So we've introduced a feature where we can go from the normal 32 pips on an SNP to more density with 72 or 96 or even up to 144 pips on one display. That's really something. And in a big network integration center where you just need a spot on the wall for everything, sometimes that makes sense. So we do it. Now, in IP situations, you've got main networks and protect networks, and so you really need more than just if the pip's on the wall, it must be good. Because in fact, a lot of things can fail and that pip's still good. But as an operator, you'd like to know that maybe things aren't as good under the hood as they look on the screen. So we've added all kinds of network alarms into SNP so that you can get telemetry about the system, not just, is there still video? Now, HDR is the biggest innovation happening in the multiviewer world, because historically, all the signals were HD, the multiviewer is HD, it's so simple. But now, in a facility, you'll have a mix of HDR and SDR signals, and the multiviewer has to do something. It has to conform them to a common display format. Otherwise, you just wind up with the HDR looking kind of terrible, or the SDR looking kind of terrible, depending on what format you put the display in. That's not right. So in SNP, we have full support for HDR conversion into a target format. So you can have an SDR multiviewer in front of somebody like a replay operator who really has to worry about eye strain and sitting very close. So everything gets conformed down to SDR for that purpose. But then in front of the TD or in front of the camera shaders, you really want HDR. So we'll keep the HDR in HDR and then convert the SDR signals to HDR to look right in the camera shading area or in the TD area or other areas where you want to have a UHD display in HDR. Either way, it's a user choice, and we give it to you with SNP Multiviewer. To learn more about all the things we have going on at Imagine, including Selenium Network Processor and the SNP, please go to our website and click the Schedule a Demo button, and someone will be right back with you.